ready. Y'all get ready.
Yes, you get ready.
We are gathered here today to sip some tea, honey. So make sure you guys have your teacups ready because this tea is what? Piping hot. So for all your tea sipping needs, don't forget to go on to lovelyti.net or amazon.com/shops/lovelytea. Thank you guys so much for the support and stay tuned for the video. Hey, you guys, I hope you guys are doing good today. When I tell you it is freezing out here, it is -7 degrees. I've been damn it under the weather. But I know you guys were asking on Instagram for me to come and spill some damn tea, okay? It's been a few days. But anyway, so I want to come on here and talk about, this whole government shutdown, Cardi B, Donald Trump, all this craziness that's going on. So if you guys don't know, Cardi B herself was also confused when she started trending yesterday. And as we all know, she dropped the video with her and the City Girls where they were twerking and shaking all that damn ass, okay?
This sound like Cardi to the stage. This sound like Cardi with the braids.
Twerk, 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 shake, 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 shake. So they were doing their thing. And after that video was released, Cardi B then went on this huge rant on social media, basically calling out the government shutdown and stating how it's affecting a lot of families and a lot of people who work for the government and how this was not okay. I want you guys to go ahead and listen to Cardi B's rant. Go ahead and check out her rant, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary. All right, so you guys just heard what Cardi B had to say. So, of course, she started trending. She was shocked that she was trending. And what was even more shocking is that the Democrats were like, they didn't know where to stand on the issue. A lot of them agreed with Cardi B, but then a lot of them were scared to admit that they agree with Cardi B because a lot of folks consider her, somewhat ratchet, right? So the Democrats, they start having this back and forth, and this shit had me cracking up. So this is what Brian Schultz, Chris Murphy, and Chuck Schumer were saying on social media. Go ahead and check this out. So Brian Schultz says, trying to decide whether or not to retweet Cardi B's video. Chris Murphy says, oh my God, I had the same argument with myself 30 minutes ago. Then Brian replies and he says, okay, you do it and say retweets are not endorsements, especially the language, and I'll retweet. Then Chris Murphy comes on and he says, DHYB. Not really sure what that means. Then Brian Schultz comes back and he says, I had to Google that. Fair enough. See you tomorrow, Murph. And then Chuck Schumer comes in, who is Amy Schumer's uncle. He says, guys, I'm still holding my breath. Are you going to RT Cardi B or not? So this entire situation has just gotten crazier. Like I said, when you got the Democrats debating on if they want to retweet you, this shit is serious, okay?
I want to play someone who represents the Bronx. Cardi B weighing in on this Trump shutdown. Take a look.
Trump is now ordering, as in summoning, federal government workers to go back to work without getting paid. Our country is in a hellhole right now. Oh, wall. And we really need to take this serious. I feel like we need to take some action.
Is she right?
Well, of course, I was going to say the exact same thing.
The same way.
Same way. She is right that I think most Americans sitting back right now saying this isn't just a problem over an issue. It's a problem of the governance of the country. One thing that I think Donald Trump is going to understand and why these numbers are falling is most Americans don't look that there's three branches of government. When the government's not functioning, there is a president. And the president is responsible for making the government function. They don't look at it as you and I might with these co-equal branches.
Right.
But on a more serious note, though, this government shutdown is affecting a lot of people, including some of my subscribers. And, I don't really get into politics, but I don't miss a beat, okay? I mean, I talk about this shit, but I'm very much, paying attention to what's going on. And one of my subscribers, she hit me up. If you guys don't know, it's not just the workers. It's not just the TSA people who are being affected. a lot of people who were guaranteed housing, people were trying to apply to get homes and stuff like that. If you're not able to get like a home through a traditional home loan like Wells Fargo or through the bank, then you can go through, government subsidies where they can help you get a home loan. Well, one of my subscribers, they were approved. They were set to move into their home, in December. And basically because of the government shutdown, everything stopped. So anybody who applied to get a home loan, you have a whole bunch of people around the country who are literally in limbo. And because they had already, talked to their landlord that, okay, they bought a home and they'll be moving at such and such a date, their landlord had already rented out the house that they're staying in. So she and her family right now are being forced to live in a hotel. So when she ended up sending me a text message explaining to me, because I had no idea it was affecting people, outside of like, the government employees. I didn't know like people who had gotten government home loans are also being affected. So I went and I sent her a few $100s, just to help them out. And if you need more, just hit me up and let me know. But yeah, so the situation is affecting a lot of people behind the scenes.
Well, turning now to day 20 of the partial government shutdown, federal employees will not receive paychecks tomorrow. During this partial government shutdown, one office you cannot get a hold of anybody, the USDA.
That's right. As News Channel 11's Jordan Moore found out, that's putting some home buyers and sellers in limbo.
That's right, Josh Sherry. A popular loan option when buying a home, especially in more rural areas, is a USDA loan, a loan that requires no money down. And real estate agent at Keller Williams, Lincoln Walters, explained this is a 100% backed loan, and it's something they see a lot, especially for first-time home buyers. And as of now, there are people waiting to close on a home, not just here, but around the country, that are now on hold, and it's because of this government shutdown.
I know there's several that are on hold right now waiting to close. The ones that are in process already are going to be delayed, and the ones that were wanting to go shopping with the USDA loan can't even really do it right now because they're not accepting any applicants. So
now Walters went on to say his concern is that if this government shutdown continues for a long period of time, the sellers waiting for a buyer with a USDA loan won't want to keep waiting and will go with another buyer who has a conventional loan. Now, he said it's important right now to educate and remind both buyers and sellers that during this shutdown, those USDA home loans, they're on hold.
And I've done things behind the scenes to help people out. I don't need a pat on the back, nor do I need people speaking on stuff like that. But it's really insane. I just feel like our president, I try to give this man the benefit of the doubt, but he has no idea what he's doing. He's so delusional that it's really scary. I was watching these news clips a few weeks ago when everything was first transpiring. And I know at that point, my subscriber hit me up and she was saying, hopefully by Monday, all of this foolishness will be over. And that was like 3 weeks ago when she hit me up. And it's not over. But even when it first was transpiring, you'll hear Donald Trump saying things like, the people who work for the government, the people who are furloughed, the people who are not getting a check, they agree with this. And if we have to take this on for the next few months, it doesn't matter. Because as far as their bills, the people who they owe money to, they should just understand. Like, no, you're speaking from the mind frame and the mindset of somebody who's a billionaire. It does not affect you in the same way it affects the regular American who's literally living paycheck to paycheck. To just be dismissive and say that it's more important to build this wall, and who gives a shit about, your employees who cannot tell the rent man, I can't pay my mortgage this month. I can't pay my rent because I don't have any income coming in. The rent man doesn't want to hear that shit. They still have to pay the bank, on the home that they got you renting. You go grocery shopping. Once you get to that register, you have to have money to pay for that food. They don't want to hear that, you're being affected by the government shutdown. They need you to pay for your product. So for him to be so delusional is very, very scary.
Back to work are now left to figure out how to cover their family expenses. Even some government workers who supported the president say they're having second thoughts about his determination to hold out for that wall.
If this did not affect my household directly, I would tell him to stand tall because something needs to be done. But since it does affect me, and again, we're talking myself and my wife are government employees, so therefore, if this continues, we will not have a paycheck. But I can definitely understand where Donald Trump is coming from.
While citing nothing specific, the president insists federal workers are behind him and share his views about the border.
What's your message to federal workers who have been impacted by the shutdown in some way?
Many of those workers have said to me and communicated stay out until you get the funding for the wall. These federal workers want the wall.
A lot of people are looking to get their paycheck. We are not giving up. We have to have border security.
Do you have in mind a safety net for those who need their checks?
Well, the safety net is going to be having a strong border. Many of the people you're discussing, I really believe that they agree with what we're doing.
I want to understand how you expect federal workers to last that long without getting a paycheck.
Look, if we have to stay out for a very long period of time, we're going to do that. And many of those people, maybe even most of those people, that really have not been and will not be getting their money in at this moment, those people in many cases are the biggest fan of what we're doing.
And what's so funny is that when they first started talking about this whole border policy, this whole, wall situation, he kept saying that Mexico was going to be the one paying for it. But it's clearly obvious that Mexico does not give a shit. And it's really, the regular people in America who are going to be forced to pay for this. So I want you guys to go ahead and watch some of these news clips that I put together. Go ahead and check this out, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary.
The President of the United States, who is a billionaire, says the 800,000 people who aren't getting paid because of the government shutdown are okay with that. Just ask them, he says. He also says he thinks their landlords will be okay with them not paying the rent. Those are just a couple of takeaways from President Trump's press conference today on the shutdown. And keeping him honest, that and some other things he said today deserve a closer look because of what they say about a chief executive who's asking others to make sacrifices for him to go without pay, perhaps, he says, for months. Though he also says this all may be over soon. However long, he's asking people to go without. And when presidents traditionally do that, it means they're taking responsibility for the outcome. It's the least they can do, and it's such an obvious thing it often goes without saying. And to his credit, President Trump did exactly that, took full responsibility on camera for the shutdown.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down.
His mantle, his shutdown, his responsibility for the consequences. He said that 3 weeks ago before the shutdown. Turns out it was easier to say before the fact, before the consequences, before TSA screeners who've been working without pay began calling in sick today, some in protest according to supervisors, some according to their union so that they can find other jobs to feed their families or pay the rent. So that buck stops with me moment from the president that we just showed you, the moment he wanted you to see, that's what it was. He wanted you to see it because he himself called the cameras into the White House. Now, maybe not so much anymore.
Are you still proud to own this shutdown?
Well, I appreciate the way you say that, but I'm very proud of doing what I'm doing. I don't call it a shutdown. I call it doing what you have to do for the benefit and for the safety of our country. So you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the Schumer or the Pelosi or the Trump shutdown. Doesn't make any difference to me. Just words.
Who's responsible? It makes no difference to him. It's just words. Sort of like saying that construction on the wall is well underway.
We've been working very, very hard. The wall is, we've done a lot of miles of wall already. So we're not just starting off fresh.
Keeping him honest, unless the president means repair and renovations on existing pieces of fencing and barriers, what he said is simply not true. He's also recently claimed that much of the wall is already built, and that's not true. But look, just words. Maybe these are just words too. Here's the president talking about who pays for the wall. The answer used to be easy. Mexico, that's what he promised. Now he says a trade agreement will pay, which doesn't really have the same ring. But listen, makes no difference, just words.
Earlier this week, you repeated your claim that through the USMCA, Mexico will be paying for the wall. Can you describe in detail the specific mechanisms in the trade deal that will
Well, you're
make
going to be
Mexico
seeing it
pay
very
for the
soon.
wall?
We made a new deal, a new trade deal. NAFTA has been one of the great disasters of all time, probably the worst trade deal ever made, maybe. And now we have a deal that's great for our country. And by the way, good for Mexico, good for Canada also. As you know, it's the three countries. We will be taking in billions and billions of dollars more money for the United States, including jobs, including companies that won't be leaving us anymore and going to Mexico and in some cases Canada to a lesser extent.
The question was, can you give us specifics? keeping him honest, it's hard to know what the president is actually saying there. And if you think that's because we've chosen the one clip where he gives a confusing and rambling answer, here's what he said when another reporter asked the same question.
The deficit ballooning to over $1 trillion under this president. Where are the additional monies for this wall going to come from, and why is he asking the American taxpayer for them when he promised Mexico was going to pay?
Look, we're not asking American taxpayers for that. We are looking at existing funding through other agencies right now that we can draw on to do that immediately.
So
the president's been clear. The president has been clear that the USMCA deal would provide additional revenue through that deal that would show that Mexico is paying for the wall.
Treasury, though, the trade benefits, if there are any, don't go to the Treasury.
He's saying that the revenue provided and the money that would be saved through the USMCA deal, we can pay for the wall 4 times over. And by doing that new trade deal, we have the opportunity to pay for the wall.
But trade benefits go to private citizens. They don't go to the United States Treasury.
He's talking about the general revenue that comes from that.
So you're going to tax?
No, we're not taxing. We're talking about additional revenue that wouldn't have existed without the president getting a new deal.
Did you listen to that? It does not make sense. That would be not a tax. To fund a not yet wall that the president has said is either well underway or almost fully built, that's not. This non-tax money will come not from Mexico, but from a trade deal with Mexico and Canada, which I suppose could mean that Canada is going to pay for the wall. But it's just words, like the president says. It makes no difference, except that he's asking a lot of people, not in Mexico, but right here, to pay for the wall and pay up front for the shutdown. And they are paying for it right now. Then again, he's got the answer.
It really does have a higher purpose than next week's pay. And the people that won't get next week's pay or the following week's pay, I think if you ever really looked at those people, I think they'd say, Mr. President, keep going. This is far more important.
If you ever really looked at those people, a bit later in the program, you'll meet some people who are not getting paid right now. They've got bills to pay, credit cards, groceries as well, health insurance, mortgage payments, the rent. The president has words for them too. Words for that. Let them eat wall.
What is a safety net for federal workers? You're saying months and possibly a year for this shutdown. Do you have in mind a safety net for those who need their checks, those who need SSI, those who need Medicaid, what have you?
Well, the safety net is going to be having a strong border because we're going to be safe. I'm not talking about economically, but ultimately economically.
So that's the safety net, the wall. To those words, you can add these words, the president suggesting that somehow creditors are also happy to sacrifice for the wall.
You're a landlord. For people that are worried about paying their rent checks, government employees right now, people that are worried about bill collectors, would you ask those companies, the landlords, to kind of go easy on?
I think they will. I think they will.
Do you? I'm sorry. Would
no,
you ask?
I think that happens. You know, hey, I've been a landlord for a long time. I've been in the real estate business for a long time. When you see there are problems out there, difficulties out there, you know, the people are all good for the money. They work with people. They work with people.
They work with the people. The old magnanimous landlord looking out for his tenants who can't pay. As you heard in that question, Mr. Trump was a landlord, so he must have been that kind of a landlord, right? Well, he actually talked with the Washington Post about his early experience as a landlord with his dad in Brooklyn. Part of what he said is here, quote, "You know," he says, "when you collect rent, and you may have heard this, but you never stand in front of the door, and you always knock this way because you get bad things coming through that door." Does that sound like he was there to offer his tenants a few more weeks or months to pay? He did not, by the way, announce any plans or orders or proposed legislation to either provide relief to tenants or to landlords. And when asked whether he'd tell his senior staff to refuse the $10,000 pay raises that they are due to get tomorrow, the president said he might consider it, but made no commitment. and then moved on.
All right, so you guys just saw those news clips. So like I said, this entire situation is just really, really disturbing. And y'all can call Cardi B ghetto, ratchet, whatever, but she was speaking some truth in that rant. And this government shutdown is affecting a lot of people, and it's going to affect even more people, okay? The problem with Trump asking for $5 billion, as if it's $5, is that, one, we don't know if this wall is really going to deter any, criminal elements, any criminal activities. You put up a wall, they'll just start flying drugs in via the plane. Where there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of us know, especially if you live near the border, like in Arizona, California, Texas, a lot of people know that these people are not necessarily climbing over walls. A lot of these tunnels are built underground, so it's really insane, his thought process, and the fact that he does not care about other people. He does not have that empathetic bone. But that's what happens when you're dealing with a narcissistic personality like Donald Trump. The government cannot be shut down every time there's a policy dispute, okay? At the end of the day, America is a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. And it's not okay that we have a president who is completely disregarding our legal and constitutional system by shutting down the government every time somebody challenges him. That's not okay. And the fact that he's so delusioned that, he just does not see the big deal because he's in a whole different tax bracket. And to me, what he did with the Clemson players, that was such a slap in the face. Those young men played their hearts out. They put their football bodies through all types of stress, all types of wear and tear. Anytime those people win championships, they're supposed to go to the White House, be catered to, eat some of the best foods. How dare you feed those young men fucking fast food that they probably ate on the way to the damn White House, okay? On buses. They probably ate McDonald's and Wendy's and Pizza Hut and all that stuff on the bus, on the way to the White House, only for them to get to the White House, and you're literally feeding them fast food, some of the crummiest food that you could feed them. And his whole thing is, the government shut down, we don't have our normal caterers here, so I paid for this food out of my pocket. I paid for 300 hamburgers. I paid for 1,000 hamburgers. His arrogance is just it's nauseating. Y'all go ahead and check this out.
We have some wonderful people working at the White House. They helped us out with this.
Quarter pounders by candlelight. With White House residential staff furloughed, President Trump picked up the tab for burgers, pizza, and fries for the champion Clemson Tigers.
I will say the Republicans are really, really sticking together. It's great to see because we need border security. We have to have it.
But both sides may just be stuck, repeating talking points with no deal in sight.
You got to reopen government first.
We're going to have a wall. We're going to have a barrier.
The gridlock is causing hardship in homes across the country.
Father, we pray that this will be resolved and that this shutdown will end.
One Texas church turned to prayer as families faced a week without a paycheck.
When you don't get your paycheck, it starts putting you behind.
Tawana Smith from Pasadena, Maryland, says her family is making tough choices while her husband is furloughed.
We have to decide which billers we're going to pay, how much we're going to spend when it comes to any loan payments or credit card payments.
The government has also stopped providing loans to small business owners, reducing capital by about $90 million a day.
It's the fast food feast the whole country is talking about, served by President Trump at the White House for the national champion Clemson University football team.
We have pizzas, we have 300 hamburgers, many French fries.
Piled high on silver platters in the East Room was fast food from three iconic American companies, Wendy's, Burger King, and McDonald's. At another table, Domino's Pizza and French fries served in paper cups with the presidential seal. This Clemson player couldn't believe it.
The rumors were true.
This player loaded up all the goodies he could carry. The McDonald's order of all those Big Macs and Filet-O-Fish was taken by this McDonald's just blocks from the White House. We spoke to owner Carlos Mateos.
I believe they had 350 to 400 burgers. They had some nuggets in there, a lot of nuggets in there as well, and then some side salads.
Trump says he ordered the fast food because workers in the White House kitchen have been furloughed in the government shutdown.
Do we have no food for you because we have a shutdown? Or do we give you some little quick salads that the First Lady will make along with the Second Lady? They'll make some salads.
His joke caused this CNN commentator indigestion.
That's appalling. It's incredibly sexist.
The president paid for the fast food out of his own pocket, and we were curious, how much did it cost? Wendy's told us their bill came to $2,300. McDonald's was roughly another $2,300, and Domino's said a $900 carryout order was picked up by men in dark suits. Burger King didn't get back to us, but no matter how you slice it, the grand total was easily more than $5,500.
All right, so you guys just saw what he had to say about the whole Clemson situation with the Clemson players. And my thing is, okay, so the government employees that normally cater and cook, they've gone on strike, and I understand that. But do you mean to tell me that there's no other caterers in D.C.? There's no family caterers or family catering businesses that you could have hired? You know, you're sitting here talking about, oh, these are all American, you know, franchises like McDonald's and Burger King and whatever else. There's also American people who run their own catering companies. Why didn't you cut the check to an average American family who's struggling to keep their business afloat, as opposed to giving that money to a fast food corporation who's already rich and sitting on millions of dollars? So, you know, this man just does not think, and it's just really, really frustrating because, again, real people are being affected by this. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I don't work for the government. I'm not a government employee. But a lot of my subscribers, you know, either have family members or they themselves work for the government, or they themselves, you know, are being affected because, like, one of my subscribers, like I said, with the whole housing situation. So this is really affecting people. And if you think this is a joke and it's not that serious and it'll be over soon, they said if this goes on into February, it's going to affect the taxes. You know, so all y'all waiting for y'all's W-2 money, you guys may not get that on time, if at all. And it's definitely going to affect food stamps. And if this, you know, continues, it can definitely affect it, you know. And it's just really sad because, again, in the words of Tupac, they got money for wars but can't feed the poor. You know, how sad is that? And you have people literally right now stressed out. And this is really sad. And I feel like they're trying to set the stage for a possible civil war. Because if something like this happens where people are not able to eat, and they're not able to put dinner on their table, and they're not able to pay their bills and pay their mortgage through no fault of their own, people are going to take to the streets. And it's going to be something bad happening if this man does not reestablish order and let people go back to getting their jobs. You know what I'm saying? You cannot have people working for free at TSA and think they're going to put their all into something when they're not getting a paycheck and they don't know how they're going to pay their bills. So trust and believe, there's all types of shit getting in through the airports right now, okay? Trust and believe. You cannot tell me that folks are sitting there patting down people, checking for weapons, checking for drugs, as thoroughly as they would be if they were getting a damn check, okay? So this is just really scary, all of this stuff that's going on. I don't want to make this rant too long, but I know you guys wanted me to come on and do a video, and this has been on my mind to talk about the government shutdown. So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire just disturbing situation. What do you guys think about Cardi B's rant? What do you guys think about the Democrats going back and forth debating if they should retweet her? And then most of all, how do you guys feel about this government shutdown? And is it affecting you or your families personally? Let me know. Leave a comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Hey you guys, it's your girl T, and I hope you really enjoyed that video. If you want to know more about my look of the day, or if you want a way to contact me concerning advertisement and sponsorship deals, definitely feel free to click my description box. There's plenty of information in there. Please stay tuned for the next video. Talk to y'all later.